Who I love?
Who's that?
It's the Shea Hey Kid. It's John Shea.
Nice.
Grew up reading his baseball column every Sunday in the San Francisco Chronicles, covering the A's and Giants, does a little bit of everything, and also has a new book, Long Schott, Building Homes, Dreams, and Baseball Teams, covers the time of former A's owner Steve Schott during the Moneyball era, available now on Amazon and other retailers. Before we get to the book, let's get to the Giants. They lose another one last night after squeaking by the Arizona Diamondbacks in a 3-game set. John, good morning. I don't know what to make of this Giants team. Rodon's good. Webb's good. Doval's good for the most part. The lineup, up and down. Who knows what they're going to do at the deadline? What do you make of this Giants team so far in 2022?
Well, they can't win the close ones, right? I mean, all these games that they're losing by 1 run or 2 runs and the record is not good, they won last year. And that means the lineup hasn't done enough. The bullpen hasn't done enough. The defense certainly hasn't done enough. The rotation has been good enough, but when the relievers come in, or when the defense has to be crisp for 9 innings, or when the lineup needs that one big hit, it's just not getting the job done. Thus, a 500 team. And Farhan Zaidi sat in the dugout the other day and said he doesn't figure on entering the rotation market, but he certainly said we could be a lot better on defense, and he said the team as is could be a lot better on defense, and it's just not performing up to par. I asked him, I said, does that mean you could actually go out and get a defender? I mean, we always say, do you need a hitter or do you need a pitcher? So I said, do you need a defender? And, yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand with a hitter as well. You don't get a 190 hitter just because he's got a Golden Glove. But there's more than one issue on this team, and it's pretty much the same team minus Posey and Gosman from the team that won 107. But you check the OPS on all the players now versus last year, or the ERAs in the bullpen now versus last year, and it's quite a bit different. So Zaidi has some things to do at the deadline, or if they lose 80% of their games from now till the end of July, maybe he'll go the other way.
You know, well, their defense has been horrible, too, as well. But, you know, it's interesting that you're talking about what they do at the deadline, because I opened up today's show talking about Carlos Rodon. And to me, this is a no-brainer. Like, I'm keeping the guy. Now, I know pitching cost this team $1 zillion back in the day, overpaying for 5-year deals on Samardzija and Cueto, got them into a precarious position. But they don't have any starters at all outside of Harrison in the farm system that are ready to go. And they only have really Logan Webb, who's reliable in the rotation currently. What would you do with Carlos Rodon? Because I'd like to see them try to work out some sort of a 3 or 4 year extension and not even allow him to see free agency, knowing that Boris is his agent. It's going to be tough. What would you do with Carlos Rodon, regardless of whether they fall out or stay in? Do you keep him, retain him, trade him at the deadline no matter what? How do you handle this?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you keep them regardless, because right now it's a top-heavy rotation with those 2 guys you mentioned, and without Ante Sclafani and Junis coming back after the break, they got to fill in at 3, 4, 5, so they have capable people in those positions, but those 2 are the main guys. Both, you know, all-star candidates. One made it, one didn't. And Rodon, hey, if he likes it here, yeah, maybe be proactive, but Scott Boras likes to play the market and often will make sure his guy goes out on the market. That doesn't mean the Giants can't sign him on the open market if he likes it here, if he likes the pitching coaches, if he likes the environment. He's certainly doing well, and obviously the medical people are keeping him on the field, which has been an issue in the past. So it's a wonderful right-left combination at the top of the rotation. Now, you're right. I mean, he has a clause in his contract that he could opt out after this year. I think he's, 5 innings away from the threshold of 110, which would trigger that opt-out possibility at the end of the year. And why wouldn't he become a free agent, even though it's a $2 and $44 million deal? He could probably get more. He would get more on the open market, and which lights up the eyes of Scott Boras and makes him happy, because that's what his clients do. But for the Giants, I mean, they got plenty of resources and money. Lot A is getting bigger and mightier by the minute, and that's going to be an ATM machine over there. It's just going to print out money. And they ought to use that for the payroll, because the payroll has been down in recent years.
18% down, John. 18% down this year, and I feel like nobody's touching on that.
Yeah, well, I've touched on it, and I've touched on the attendance drop from 19, and I've touched on players out there, including Soto, including Judge, who might be available in a trade and free agency, respectively. And I've also mentioned that this is a team that historically relies on the big man in the middle of the lineup to make everyone better. And I went through the history of the San Francisco Giants and find out there are only 5 years where the main guys didn't suit up. And I'm talking about Willie Mays, to Jack Clark, to Will Clark, to Barry Bonds, to Buster Posey. Only 5 years in San Francisco history have those guys not suited up in a season.
Wow.
So they've always relied on those.
So John,
they don't have one of those.
Let me ask you this, John.
That's incredible.
That's incredible because I do love that too,
that.
because we're talking to John Shea, longtime writer for the San Francisco Chronicle. Grew up reading his stuff. We're going to talk about his new book in just a second, but that leads me to Aaron Judge. Is it in Farhan's? Is it his philosophy to give a big-time deal to a big-time player like that? Because you just mentioned it. And Shasky and I have been discussing this for the last 3 weeks. Hell, even before the season. The Giants always had that thumper, that anchor in the lineup, that guy that could get you 30 to 40 home runs. And we haven't seen that over the last decade. Now, they've won championships. We get all that with the great pitching and defense. But they're lacking that lethal threat in the middle of the lineup. So what do you think Farhan will do this offseason? Will he at least offer Judge something? What is realistic for the Giants this offseason when it comes to spending money and trying to add that thumper to the lineup?
Well, two things. Number one, if I'm the Yankees, I'd be crazy to let him go. I'd give him the moon, and because I'm the Yankees and I own the moon, and he is going to be worth every penny. I mean, they've had bad contracts. They can survive bad contracts. The Oakland A's can't survive those kind of contracts. That's why they don't give them out. The Yankees can, but if the Mets are going to outbid the Yankees, then he just might stay on the East Coast. But if the California kid wants to come home, and the Giants better open up their checkbook, because he would be absolutely perfect hitting balls toward that big glove in left field and playing right field and doing whatever the heck he wants in the middle of that lineup, because that's exactly what they need. Now,
right-handed power.
The other part is it's not in Farhan's wheelhouse to do something like that. It would be a 9-digit contract for somebody north of 30. And he is more into the 2 or 3 year contracts, not the 6, 7, 8, 9 year contracts that you see going out to maybe younger players, Machado and Tatis, etc. But Aaron Judge, just imagine him in a Giants uniform. He's such a difference maker. And these 1-run games that they lose, 2-run games that they lose, suddenly those probably going to be wins with a force like that. But if you had your druthers, you take Soto because he's 23 versus 30. But right now he's not available in trade. The Washington says that doesn't mean he wouldn't be available after the season. But again, it's probably going to be on a short-term contract because he'll be a free agent in a few years. But it certainly would help in those few years, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely it would. Right-handed power bat who can play all 3 outfield positions, and you finally have the DH in the NL. It's a no-brainer to me. John Shea talking with us right now. He wrote a new book. It's called Long Schott, Building Homes, Dreams, and Baseball Teams. It covers the time of former A's owner Steve Schott during the Moneyball era. Again, Long Schott is the name of the book. It's available right now on Amazon and other retailers. John, I want to get a couple quick questions in here before you go, because we're up against it, because I want you to rat-a-tat-tat. What inspired you to write this book about the former A's owner?
Well, when I was approached about it, I learned 2 things. The guy was self-made versus so many ownership groups in the Bay Area's history. These guys inherit their wealth. And that was a difference maker. Guy had $500 in his pocket when he got married. The other thing is he played the game at a higher level than most people, not little league, not high school, but college. Over at Santa Clara, Division I pitcher. Scouts came out all the time. At the time, they were in a conference with UCLA, USC, Stanford, Cal. It was a 5-team conference, and he held his own. But beyond that, it's the inner workings of that really hasn't been written. And the offer came in, and I said, this is a different thing to do. And I kind of love this stuff because I went back, and the only ownership people in baseball history that I found that wanted or did write a first-person book is like Bill Veeck and Branch Rickey.
Oh, wow.
And that was a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
So we explore a whole lot of stuff that, including things that pertain to the A's today, whether it's territorial rights and all this other stuff going on, the stadium issue.
Well, that's interesting you bring that up because I wanted to follow up on that. The territorial rights thing, Bonta and I were talking about the Nats and the Orioles and how the Nats go into the Orioles ballpark or into their area, into their region, and it really ruined their revenue. Ruined their revenue. And I know at one time the A's granted San Jose to the Giants, and the Giants now use that as a big stream of revenue. So from a business standpoint, I think I totally understand where the Giants are coming from. Like, hey, that was a different era. Things have changed. We've learned from the mistakes of the Orioles. We're not going to give that up. In the book, you ask Steve, hey, Coliseum site, Howard Terminal, and he gives a very specific answer. What was his answer regarding the various sites that the A's are choosing amongst?
Oh, he definitely favors the Coliseum site over Howard Terminal, saying there's just too many issues at Howard Terminal, and the Coliseum is centrally located in the Bay Area, near the freeways, near the airport. And it's so easy. It's just right there. You could just stick a shovel tomorrow. Where this other thing, yeah, it's pretty. And Dave Cavill, I asked him a million times before he finally told me, why not the Coliseum? He said, well, he basically said we got to keep up with the Joneses. The Giants got a waterfront, so we need a waterfront that's going to be better. We're not going to be better at the Coliseum. But so many people I spoke with, including Schott, including Joe Lacob, including Jerry Reinsdorf, who was basically Bud Selig's right-hand man, owner of the White Sox. He goes back to the territorial rights issue and says he disagreed with Bud's decision and disagreed with Rob Manfred that the A's should be allowed to go to Santa Clara. So I would say, if Howard Terminal fails, don't go to Las Vegas, revisit the Coliseum site and revisit San Jose. Mm-hmm. That way you're going to have 2 thriving franchises in the Bay Area again.
Wow, I always thought you could build around the Coliseum, but I wanted to. You brought up Joe Lacob there.
Yeah.
How real was it that Joe Lacob, when he put in the offer to buy the A's and he was denied? Were the A's ever thinking about selling the team to Joe Lacob? What was it like on their end of the deal?
Absolutely. In the book, Steve Schott lays it out. He said, I had a verbal agreement with Joe Lacob to buy the team in 2005 for $180 million.
Wow.
And Lacob was just waiting for the final phone call. It was that close. Everything was done. He qualified. But Selig wanted Lou Wolf, his fraternity brother at the University of Wisconsin, and the money guy was John Fisher. And Bud's quoted in the book saying, we thought that was the way to go. Oh. And Joe Lacob details every step of the way in the book on how he thought he had it done. And just a valuable lesson, by the way, in relationship building. And what he learned from being denied by Bud Selig and that $180 million, he bought into the Boston Celtics as minority owner. He got to know everybody because in baseball nobody knew him, right?
Yes,
right.
And then suddenly he knows the commissioner, he knows all the owners. And when the Warriors came up in 2010 at $450 million, he said, "Okay, I'm the guy." Now all the basketball people know Joe Lacob. And he learned a valuable lesson in baseball when getting rejected. Nobody knew him. Now everyone knows me. So he basically got the team over Larry Ellison. And he says in the book, I really shouldn't have because Larry Ellison has a lot more money.
Yeah.
So it's about networking and hobnobbing. And Lacob says, I have a standing offer still to buy the A's, which kind of ticks off A's fans because they say, wait a minute, we could have had Lacob and a ballpark fan and Olsen and Chapman still on the team and winning and all that stuff.
Wow.
But it hasn't happened because Major League Baseball denied him, and Fisher hasn't had any interest in selling, as far as we know, because he never talks to the media or fans, so nobody really knows.
John, before you get out of here, just very quickly.
That's fascinating.
You've talked to everyone involved in this. It sounds like you've got all these different perspectives. What do you think happens with the A's moving forward? Stay in Oakland, build at Howard Terminal, die out at the Coliseum, go to Vegas, build somewhere else in the Bay Area? Well,
it'll be somewhere in the Bay Area. I don't see Las Vegas. I don't see owners giving the Giants all in Northern California when there are 3 teams in Southern California. I don't see owners not wanting that $2.2 billion expansion fee as a 31st or 32nd team in baseball. Some giddy Las Vegas dude who says, or dudette who would say, hey, here's $2.2 billion I want in, versus John Fisher, who doesn't want to pay a penny to go to Las Vegas. Why would owners approve that? A team going from the 6th biggest market in the country to the 40th with no waterfront, with a roof that's 120 right now, and degrees. So, I mean, there's so many factors that obviously it seems like a ploy and a threat and all that stuff, because this parallel path thing is all, just to get the city council in Oakland, which has done more for the A's than any other city council in history, going back to Jerry Brown and all those guys who really didn't do anything. These people are doing a lot. So if the A's move to Las Vegas, it's on them. It's their fault because they never were interested in the first place. But I don't see them going to Las Vegas at all.
Really? Wow. That's fascinating stuff. John Shea, the Shea Hey Kid, San Francisco Chronicle. Of course, a new book, Long Schott, Building Homes, Dreams, and Baseball Teams, covers the time of former A's owner Steve Schott during the Moneyball era. Available right now on Amazon and other retailers. I'm going to buy this book right now on Amazon. John, you're so great. We're running out of time here. We could talk all day long, but let's do it again soon.
Yeah.
We love your perspective, especially when it comes to baseball.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Wow, the Laker thing.
Can you believe that?